Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan. I'm with I Take the Lead. I'm actually in the Denver metro area. I'm a director with for Colorado. I Take the Lead here in Denver. I have Becky with me with I Take the Lead Corporate in Portland. And if you're not familiar with I Take the Lead, we are a referral team organization. We actually put together communities of professionals who are working to grow their business and help each other collaborate to grow their business through quality referrals. We have locations in and around Colorado. We have virtual teams in Colorado, Portland, Oregon, and Washington and Vancouver, right?
Vancouver and Seattle, right?
Seattle, yeah. So, and then let's see, what else? So in addition to this webinar, we do typically at least once a month, we do at least one networking webinar. I think the next one is April
19th, I think. 19th, yeah, I think so.
And that'll be presented by
Ronnie,
sorry, thank you. Hi, Ronnie Noyes. And so, yeah, genuinely looking forward to that one. That's out on Meetup. If you want to register for that, that one requires a pre-registration as well. Other real quick thing too about the webinar is if you signed up, then you'll actually get the recording of the webinar almost immediately after. So definitely sign up. We always encourage you to come to the live one because that allows you to ask questions and participate and whatnot. But if for some reason you're not able to make it, so for example, one of our members here in Denver, Tracy, wanted to make it today. She had a kind of a last minute emergency she emailed me about, but the recording will go out to her. So with that,
absolutely.
I'll give it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. So, Lynn, you made it. You're muted, but you were trying to get on the last webinar we did.
Well, that's I tried. Yeah, I tried on the link that showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Alan and Dotty, I'm going to have to make you register yourself from now on, so you know what.
Yeah, because the links don't appear to be working. Even the one that came through, I had to. It was quite a convoluted process compared to the normal meetings.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah,
compared to the normal meetings, you just hop on, but you have to pre-register for webinars, and I always pre-register you.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I'll do it.
Yeah. I'll make sure that you get yourself registered from now on.
Yeah. I've been trying to get on since about 5 minutes till.
I know, I saw that. Yeah. So sorry about that.
Well, we know that Lynn is trainable.
Yeah, he is, I think. I don't know. So anyway, well, welcome everybody. Alan already went ahead and introduced us. And so I get to introduce Dotty Scott, who is our speaker today. I got to hear a little bit of this presentation two or three times before. It's great information. I'm glad you're all here and able to take advantage of it. Dotty's been a member of I Take the Lead almost as long as Lynn has. She's been a little bit short of Lynn, but probably she's been a member 17 years or so. And I've learned everything, social media, everything from Dotty. I'm part of her AskDotty.com program, and I always look forward to hearing Dotty. So Dotty, I'll let you take it over.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Then I'm going to give you guys a free ride all the way over here. Did you feel the roller coaster?
No, I didn't. Good thing. I'd probably be sick.
Yeah, the advantage of two screens.
Yeah.
So I'm Dotty with Premium Websites. And when I started my business, I really had no idea what I was doing. I knew my craft, but I had zero idea about marketing, how to get customers, all of that. I started with I Take the Lead right away. And because there were no other website designers, I went ahead and took advantage of Becky's offer to go to as many groups as possible as a guest. So I did that, got some traction. A couple months, maybe 3 or 4 months after starting, I went full time because I was working at the time and doing websites kind of on the side, so to speak. But through networking, I was able to get enough clients that I could go full time. But I still just had my feet in the water as far as networking. So I had a lot to learn. As far as marketing, I had a ton to learn. So after my first year, I don't know if I thought of this myself or if someone mentioned it somewhere, maybe Ronnie, I'm not quite sure. But I decided to sit down and figure out exactly where all my clients came from the previous year. And the very first time it was like this huge process. So I immediately decided to make some changes and start making notes and stuff on where clients come from when I first bring a client on. So part of my process answers this question right here. Do you know where your clients come from? And if you're in the I don't know bucket, you need to do something about that. So what I personally do, and this whole presentation is on my process of what I do when I bring a client on and how I track everything. And so it's my hope that you will kind of take ideas from what I'm doing and maybe morph it into processes that you might already have in place or partially in place so that it works for you. So my very first thing is I use QuickBooks, and when I create a new client profile, there is a place in there to drop some notes, and I ask every single client without fail. I missed one last year and I had to recontact them, but I ask every single one how they found me. And they will either say, I met you in an I Take the Lead meeting. I found you on Google. And if they say that, I even ask, what term did you search on, if you remember? And 50-50, they'll tell me. The other 50, they don't remember. And they'll say, so-and-so referred me. Whatever it is that they say, I make a note of it in my QuickBooks. And then at the end of the year, I'm able to export that to Excel because QuickBooks isn't smart enough to figure out how to actually include that as a report, which is really irritating. But I export that into Excel, and I have a friend that's like an Excel wizard, and I have him do all sorts of sorting, adding formulas, whatever, to get me the numbers that we're going to see in just a moment. But it all starts with asking your clients how they found you. That is like the one step that if you miss, you can't do any of this. So today we're going to find out, at least for me, what marketing worked last year. And I'm going to tell you what I did to acquire the clients that I have. I'm going to share my referral types and referral categories with you. And then just kind of summarize some of the information that I learned from this process. So here's the first one. I wanted to know what kind of a referral was working. So I created these different types based on my clients. So obviously the first one is networking. And once I broke it down, that was 40% of my income last year. So for those of you that say networking doesn't work, I ask myself, do I want to lose 40% of my income? Probably not. That would not be a good day
I know.
That math is handy for these times, isn't it?
Exactly. And then referrals was 30%. And I want to kind of tell you what these different categories mean. Networking is obviously a networking group or people that I've met out and about. They're not like existing clients. They're not people I knew from any other place. It's just, I've met business networking in one way or another. Referrals is a bucket of people that were referred to me by a specific person. Okay. And there is a little bit of overlap in some of these. For example, if Lynn referred me a client, I would put him obviously as that client as a referral. I'd put Lynn next to it, but I would actually put that in my networking category because networking is the only way that I know Lynn.
Right.
If I was never in I Take the Lead, I would have never met Lynn, probably. So there is a little bit of overlap in these things. Internet is pretty much anything on the internet excluding social media. So that's my website. It's my Google profile. It's my YouTube account. It's all the different places that I have citations, directories, all of that kind of stuff plops into that internet category. Existing customers would be ongoing projects for customers like maintenance, that type of thing. It's not like a referral. If an existing customer gives me a referral, it goes into that referral bucket. And the last one is social media. And I broke that out separate from the internet because there's specific activities and expenses involved with social media that is really separate from the internet. But some of these areas, like I said, are kind of gray areas, and we'll get more into that in a minute. But these are my buckets of how I acquired clients. And yours may be slightly different. They may be totally different. But you need to start with being able to categorize your customers into a method of something you did to acquire them. And that's what these buckets are for me. Are there any questions on this piece?
Let's see. Go ahead and unmute yourself, or you can put it into chat if you have any
If
questions.
they put it into the chat, Becky, would you let me know? Because
Sure.
I'm not seeing the chat.
Yeah, I see it.
Perfect. Okay, so you can see for me, 40% networking, 30% referrals, 25% internet, 4% existing customers, and only 1% social media. And if you were to look at this, you might say, why on God's green earth do you spend any time whatsoever on social media? Because it's only 1% of my income. And I'm going to answer that question a little bit later.
Yeah.
So if
Hey,
there's
Dotty.
was there any questions on this?
Yes, I have a question. Would you say that your income correlates like with the time that you also put into that? Would you say that 40% of the time, it compares to the 40% of your time that you spent networking?
Time is not something that I tracked. I did track expenses, which we'll get to. But yeah, no, I have not thought about that. So that's an interesting metric for me to come back to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next thing I wanted to know is, out of that 40% that was networking, what networking was it? Where did it come from? And this again was an interesting exercise. So all my prior years, I stopped at that first slide. I never went past it. This year, I decided to dig into this a little bit more so that I could refine what I'm doing this year versus last year. So looking at these, WPN it stands for Women's Prosperity Network. It's an online networking group that is nationwide. We all know what I Take the Lead is. General networking is if I couldn't figure out where they came from. Or it could be, you know, for example, here's a good one. I flew to Texas once, and when I flew home, I sat next to a gentleman whose daughter goes to college here in Portland. And like, I don't know, 5-ish years later after that flight, so we chit-chatted the whole way, he called me up and I built him a website.
Wow.
Yeah, he hung on to my card that I did give him for at least 5 years. But that would be general networking. It's like, you know, you can't really attribute it to anything else. The DIY is Ronnie's group. CCLD is just a local group here that isn't even in existence anymore. To my knowledge, I believe COVID kind of put an end to them. A wedding group is an association I used to belong to. And you would ask, why would I belong to a wedding association? And it's not because I have anything to do with weddings. It was because all of the people in that association were my ideal clients. They were all small business owners, like florists, photographers, videographers, you know, wedding planners. All of these types of people are great customers for me. So that's why I was in that group. Again, it's no longer. I did a talk at an urban group, and I can't even remember the name of it. And this is a power of networking. Over 10 years ago, I spoke locally here at in some restaurant, in some group, and the woman that ran that group, her husband hired me last year to build him a website. And that came directly from her, because when I asked, he said, oh, my wife is so-and-so, and she used to run this urban group, and you spoke there once, and she highly recommended you. I'm like, wow, 10 years later. So networking is truly a long-term thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then the local networking is, you know, Chamber of Commerce, you know, just different local groups that I'm not necessarily a member of on a regular basis, but I pop in here and there and speak or just meet people. So that's like my breakdown of networking. And you might think, looking at this pie chart, you know, if I start with the DIY group, the blue one, and go up to your yellow one and take that band away, then I would have, you know, that piece of the pie to fit in with another group that might be more productive. However, every single one of those pieces of the pie, I'm no longer active in, or the group no longer exists. All of those percentages came from way past efforts of mine, and they paid off last year.
Wow.
So it's like not even an option to drop them, because I already have, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know,
Those are
so,
those good karma referrals, basically.
what was that, Lynn?
Those are what we call good karma referrals.
Yes. Yes, those are what I call being known before you're needed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you never know when you're going to be needed. And thinking of the crossover, again, all of these little pieces have crossover, because, you know, here's a good example. In December, I believe, December or November of last year, I got a call from a person who saw me speak at the local holistic chamber meeting 3 or 4 years ago. She wasn't ready. She really hadn't jumped in full time to her business yet. She's a local massage therapist. And she followed me on Instagram. And so, this was January, this was this year. So she's not in these numbers. And when it came time that she needed my services, she knew how to find me because she was following me on Instagram. And so she contacted me, and I've done, lots of work for her in just these first 2 months now. So, next year she will go into my social media because she followed me on Instagram and I stayed in front of her. So she knew how to get a hold of me, even though I initially found her because of networking at a local chamber group. So that's how some of these numbers are gray and crisscrossed, but in my mind, it works. Any questions on this slide
So far.
here?
Again, just unmute yourself if you do, or if you can't, put a question in the chat. Okay, I don't think so far.
Okay.
There's a little time delay, just so you know.
Oh, okay. So the next question I wanted answered is, what did each referral type cost me? Because we got to look at expenses if we're running a business. We got your income, we got our expenses. So once I broke this down, and the way I did this in QuickBooks, in the expense area, we can add a tag. And so I created tags for each of my referral type buckets. And I was able to assign an expense to a referral type. And then I had what I called overhead, which is just everything. And then what I did with that overhead number is I took the percentages on the first slide and divided that overhead number out by percentages and spread it across all the groups. Not a seriously intense mathematical issue, but that's how it was done. And again, exported this into Excel to get these percentages. So networking cost me 43% of my income. Referrals, 25%. Internet, 27%. And that the internet stuff is like the cost of my website, the cost of my hosting, any online advertising, anything I spent money online for my business kind of went into there. The only expense with existing customers, that is my CRM. So it's how I stay in touch with my existing customers. I send out my newsletters and all of that. So I put that expense off to that bucket. And then social media, again, very small expense. Because I don't personally pay for most of the social media stuff. That is only I believe that is a later.com. I have the paid version of that for scheduling videos as well as images. So that's what that 2% is. So once I figured out, I was able to attribute an expense to a type, then I jumped over to here, and I wanted to know which one was most profitable. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line, is like, where's your money come from? And if we look at networking again, is 36%. Referrals, 35. I mean, that's most of my pie. Internet, again, internet people, these are ones that actually said, I found you on Google and I typed in whatever. And your social media is down there at 1% again. But here's the reason why I will never drop social media. Even though looking at this, you might think, what's the point? It's because it goes back to being known before you're needed. And the people that I attributed to that social media, they are customers that I found directly from LinkedIn. And one of them was a customer that I found directly from activity on Alignable. And they've said that. LinkedIn, Alignable. Next year, it'll include Instagram because of the client I brought on in January. None of them have ever said Facebook. Coincidentally, yet everybody loves Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike Facebook, and I do spend time on there. Most of my time spent on there is more of a personal thing. It's with, it's sharing things that I like to do. And the reason I do that is because I want people to know that, yes, I build websites, but I've got, this whole side of me over here of other things that I enjoy doing. I feel it's important to put a full rounded perception of who you are out there. But again, back to only 1%. That isn't really a true number, because if you're known before you're needed, someone still might find me on Google. If I put a video on YouTube, which is social media, my videos come up in Google as they do if I put them on Vimeo. If I get a review on Facebook on my business page, my reviews come up independently of my website as a listing in Google. So even though people aren't saying, I found you on this specific social media site, because I have activity on these platforms, and because I have my business profiles open to the public, they are qualified to be indexed by the search engines separate from my website. So there's different searches that somebody can do for me online, where my website will show, Google reviews will show, Yelp will show, Facebook will show, UpCity, which is a directory, will show. So I could have 5 or 6 instances of something I've done on the internet show up when somebody Googles me or is looking for what I do.
LinkedIn too, right?
What was that?
LinkedIn too. Did you
Yep.
mention it? Yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn, all of those show up. Like if you Google your name, like you personally go and Google your name, you will see, hopefully, all of the different places online that you are actively doing something. And then the trick is to get those places to start showing up when someone is Googling either what you do, so they're looking for your service, or they're looking for the benefit that you give. Because a lot of people will Google whatever their issue is, looking for a solution. And that's where you really want to show up. So even though I can only attribute directly 1% to social media, I'll never stop doing it for all of the reasons that I've given here. And any questions on that? Because it's a concept a lot of people just don't grasp right away.
Right. Mike, do you have a question?
Yeah, if I hear you correctly, Dotty, I have a company that will post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all these things, right? On a rotational basis, kind of like I don't have to do anything really. But when I notice how many followers I have, it's very small. But and that's coming under your 1% there. But what I've noticed is that because they're providing me content, I actually, I guess I share that content on the Google My Business page.
Yep.
And that's where I get most of my activities outside of, I guess my internet activities come from that Google My Business page. So-
Exactly.
Okay,
And that's exactly what I mean. Because that started with Instagram, for example, but yet you took it one step further, put it on your Google page, which I highly recommend everybody doing. So that's now your internet bucket. And I'm assuming you must be in a regulated industry.
mortgages.
Yes, okay. So that's why you're doing that. Now, as far as like Facebook goes, or really any of the social platforms, if you have your own profile, not your business profile, and you just talk about your hobbies, you'll get more instances of things coming up if someone's searching for you. Like maybe they know your name and they want to know how to get a hold of you. So that's just one more thing. But yes, that's exactly what I mean.
All right.
Good question, Mike. So does anybody else have any questions? And there's a test at the end of this, so make sure you understand it all.
I'm curious to know what expenses go into your referral 35%. Like, what are you
Yeah.
having to pay for that in that category?
Let me think on that. The referral stuff is going to be see, I did this in January. You're testing my memory right now.
Wasn't it your CRM and stuff?
My CRM was kind of existing customers. That's the expense.
Oh,
for
yeah,
that. If we
okay.
go back a screen,
Yeah.
this 3% of expenses is my CRM. What is in my referrals? I don't remember. The networking is like all of my memberships and whatnot. It used to be meals and stuff when I went to a meeting would also go into that bucket. And referrals. Let me see if I made any.
No worries, I was just curious.
Yeah. I'm curious too.
Gosh, Teresa, it's been 2 whole months now.
I know, 2 months. And the fact that my friend Dawn actually did all these number crunching.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what that is, but it was something specific directly related to referrals.
Dotty, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
In regards to social media, I see that it's still, prevalent. You have 1% of your referral sources from social media, and then 2% in terms of cost. What do you typically use social media for, and what do you typically post?
So I use it personally for just stuff that I do. So I like hiking and camping. I love taking photos, and I put all that kind of stuff out there. I use Canva to create different graphics with positive quotes and that kind of stuff I put out there. I also do Facebook Lives, create videos that I put out through social media. I also consider Alignable in a social media kind of platform where I post a lot of events. Google My Business, I kind of throw in there. There's not really any expense with there's hardly any expense with any of these because I don't have the paid pro versions on any of these platforms.
Including Canva?
Canva, I do have.
Okay, yeah.
I do pay for the pro version on Canva, but I put that in as overhead and spread it out over everything because I use it in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as expenses go, the social media thing, I have a paid later account, and the only reason I have that is because it lets me schedule videos, and the free one doesn't. So that's why I do that. But as far as what I post, it's a cross between business related and personal. And when I say personal, it is nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with politics. And if I would be embarrassed for my mom to read it, I don't post it. So none of it is really personal. It drives me personally insane when I see clients posting certain things. And I do try to connect with clients on social media. And the reason for that is when somebody they know that needs my services, now they can tag me. And it's easy for them to call it to my attention when somebody's asking for a website designer type of a thing. Because I have had a lot of people say, oh, I never connect to my clients because I don't want them to know what I do personally. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be posting that then.
Well, you know, do you remember Tony Montez? He was with the McAdam B2B group. Tony.
I remember the name,
printing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
printer.
what did you say, Lynn?
Yeah, the printing company. They did
Yeah.
food stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so his daughter-in-law connected with me on Facebook, wanted to know who I knew that could help a friend of hers do social media. So I did. I told her I referred it to you. I don't know if she ever got a hold of you. I couldn't even tell you what her name is because her last name is not Montez for some reason. I think she kept her maiden name. And so sometimes you just never know. And but I either tagged you or I did something, and it was probably in January when that happened. And I've wondered if she ever got a hold of you or whatever, you know, so.
Yeah, when somebody tags me, I usually respond to that tag with a link to my website that would, whatever page would be relevant to whatever they were asking for, and a link to my scheduling calendar if they want to schedule an appointment. And then I just leave it up to them.
Right, exactly.
I'm not really pushy into sales.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I done all this, is I just kind of sat down and reflected, what did I do? One thing I would love is to get a piece of accounting software that could actually do all of this for me. Once I've created all the tags in there and I put things in buckets, why can't I get a report? Hello, I don't know, but QuickBooks doesn't do it, so I rely on Excel. It'd be nice to not have to do that. And I want to kind of reflect on what do I need to do this year to increase my number of direct referrals from existing customers? Because that is, like we all said, or all know, it's cheaper to get a client that you already have, or to get more business from a client you already have, than it is to acquire a new client. And I proved that for me. It is definitely, my existing customer bucket is my most profitable. And what can I do to decrease expenses for networking and some of these others? Always decrease expenses and increase what you're getting. But the other thing that I realized is that all those, some of these networking or some of these buckets of clients, I'm not making a whole lot from, but I didn't lose business or lose money on any of them. So I'm not going to drop any of them. I might just shift a little bit of what I'm doing to do more in the more profitable areas and less in the other areas. But I have had years in my past where I did things that lost me money.
Oh, really?
And at the end of the year, when I sat down and did this and figured it out, it's like, okay, I ain't doing that anymore. What's the point? And so, I mean, that's one thing, or one reason I encourage everybody to be able to know this, whether you do it annually or quarterly or monthly or however you do it, it's important to know if there's something losing you money, you need to stop doing it. And if there's something that's really super profitable for you and it doesn't cost you hardly anything, you need to do more of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of my conclusion of this whole process. And again, I do it every year. So any just questions in general on any of this stuff?
I've got a question based on things that didn't work. Were you part of the Vancouver group when a lot of us bought the specialty Yellow Pages ad from the guy who came through?
Yes, that
Yeah.
didn't work.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, that didn't
Oh,
work.
no, you were one of them too?
But you know what, Lynn? The guy that came through that I bought a Yellow Page ad, his name is Mike Jeffress from way back when I was in there.
Uh-huh.
He no longer works for Yellow Pages. I stayed in touch with him, even though the ad did squat. I stayed in touch with him over all these years, and he is now doing something that works really well with what I do, a specific kind of online marketing, and we've been referring clients back and forth.
Oh, very cool.
So
Oh,
you were
this is different, Lynn.
Yeah, this is a different Yellow Pages
Yeah.
ad.
Yeah.
Oh,
This was
okay.
one, a bunch of us bought ads and then the Yellow Pages kind of went out of business. It was a privately owned specialty Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't get into that one.
Yeah.
But the Yellow Pages ads that I have bought in the past have all been as far as business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dottie, I wanted to see, have you ever used the CRM Big Purple Dot?
I have not.
You may want to check into that. It's been a while since I've used it, but it has some really cool customizable features and also reporting mixed in.
Oh, okay. I
Just
will
to-
check that
If you have a
out.
link to that, I was gonna throw in my 2 cents on a CRM too, that will do, a lot of what you were talking about, Dottie, as far as aggregate, where your clients are coming from. But yeah, Teresa, if you could throw that, a link to that in the chat. Dottie, I'm gonna throw in a link to the CRM that I use too. It's called Close, and it does a lot of, like I said, a lot of what you're looking for in terms of, calculating where your clients are coming from. I'm pretty sure it'll include, how much you've spent to gain that client, how much you've gained from that client, from getting that client and everything. And it'll kind of contrast that. I use that.
Okay.
There's, a free version. There's a inexpensive one. I think the inexpensive one is like $20 a month. And then there's a premium version that's, I think, $50 a month or something like that. And every step, you can do more and more and more with that too. So yeah, Big Purple Dot. I've looked into that too, and that's thank you, Teresa. I appreciate you putting that in there, and that's a good one too. So
Alan, what's the name of the
purple.
one? What's the name of the one that you mentioned? Close?
Close, yeah, CLOZE. And I've been using that one for, oh gosh, probably 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, really?
And I run a report, I try to do it once a month when I'm really on my A game. And it shows me again where I've gotten the clients from, what marketing efforts really are working for me, and it kind of lumps it into a nice organized report.
And the basic one is $20 a month.
I believe so. Yeah, you might
Right.
don't hold me to that, but
No, that's
I believe
fine.
so.
No,
Yeah.
I just want to, I want an easy one because I'm a simple man. I just want an easy one to
Yep.
send something out bi-weekly,
Yep. Yeah, you can set up, I think the more expensive one, you can actually automate that process, and actually it'll send it on your behalf. You can schedule it, determine who you want it to go to and all that. But the basic one I know will do that. And I'm actually fairly certain, I've looked into it, and maybe Teresa can speak to this a little more too, but I believe Big Purple Dot will do that as well. So.
Yeah, and big Purple Dot, Jungo, Gungo. I mean, there's a whole bunch of these guys out there, but they have a lot of bells and whistles, and I don't really need all those bells and whistles.
Yeah,
Every
Big
2
Purple-
weeks, I just want to send something out.
Yeah, Big Purple Dot requires some building to it, but once you learn and have it built to how you want it customized, it works really good. But it does take some building at first, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Total Expert is what I use now, and it seems super user friendly. I'm still learning some of the functions, but it seems pretty easy so far.
Are you with Fairway Mortgage?
I was with Fairway, but I'm with PRMG now.
Oh, okay, because that's what we use is the Total
Yeah, I
Expert.
use Total Expert there too.
But
for
I don't
Fairway.
want them having my database, just in case, you know?
You never know.
We all need our own.
Yeah. Dotty, is that the jacket you were talking about? I just had to ask.
It is.
I
I have
like
another
it.
one that's more of a warm purple too. How
Oh,
about you?
okay. Oh, very cool. Oh, very good.
Yeah,
So
good
does,
information.
yeah,
Excellent.
thank you, Dotty. Appreciate it.
I hope you found it useful and can take at least one thing away.
Mhm. I took a screenshot of that, your screen information learned, because that's important. You know, you talked about, again, your CRM. What do you need to do this year to increase your number of direct referrals from existing customers and other business owners that you know? That's huge. I think, you know, for all of us, that's kind of an underutilized market. That's one that I personally want to focus on, because you're right. It's easier to retain a client and potentially get a referral from that client. I mean, that's potentially free
Yeah.
versus, you know, spending money on advertising and all that. And, you know, good information. I realized scratching down notes. I've got a whole bunch of notes here that I was scratching down. So, I'm going to put those into my note software here. And so, yeah, good stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I told you, Alan, I knew you'd like it.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have been, since I first heard this, I've been keeping track. I have to go, I can remember everybody. And before I forget, I have to go back to December to see where everybody came from. But I have been keeping track for, well, since I guess February and March. So I just have to cover January where everybody's coming from. So thank you, Dotty.
You're welcome.
It's interesting.
I bet Becky's
Yes.
getting hers from social media, nothing from networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already been tracking it, but I've never ran these reports, so I'm curious to go and see how it looks now.
Do you have any
Yeah.
idea what your biggest bucket of
Definitely there's
clients
a
are?
lot of networking and referrals, warm referrals, people that I know and they tell someone else and
Mhm.
like that mostly.
Yeah.
But I have gotten some Google referrals too, and that's exciting.
I love it when that happens. To me, that's
Yeah.
just like free money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be interesting to see somebody starting a new business to track this and see how it changes over the years. Like I know an old college teammate just went into real estate. He's worked for Disney for years. He retired, and he's finding the leads aren't coming as fast as he expected. He did a mailer of 175 people and didn't get any leads. Like, well, you've been a realtor for a month and a half. It's going to take
Yeah.
some time.
And what are the odds of those 75 people needing a house right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I told him, I said, it's just a timing thing. If you do that 3 or 4 times a year, I think he felt because he was offering a drawing for $100 Amazon gift card that would spike the referrals. It's like, sometimes you don't know anybody who wants to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, that kind of speaks volumes for networking, you know, the know, like, and especially the trust portion of networking, because sending out mailers, you know, you have to, at least from my experience, sending out mailers, it's usually not until the 13th or 14th mailer that you send out, if you stuck with it that long, that you actually get something from it versus
Right.
networking. You know, you've established that trust, you've established that face-to-face relationship, and you know, that's icing on the cake when you get a referral from somebody. It's like, oh, you know, we've met a few times, but I haven't had to mail anything. This is great.
Right. Right.
So,
And luckily, he's got a couple of people talking to him. So he's got somebody who does networking, another realtor saying, you just started. It's going to take a little time.
Yeah, I know.
It's time to give up being a realtor yet. Give it 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like Dotty mentioned earlier, with networking, you work, and the payoff might be way down the road, but there's always a payoff, you know, and yeah.
It
You
just
know,
has to be
Becky,
the way you do business.
Mhm.
there's two I Take the Lead members, which I don't even think they're members anymore. Diane Mandan, who used
Yeah.
to be Mannheimer,
Yeah.
and Becky Roberts. And I
Oh,
met
yeah.
those two ladies probably when I first started, so 15 plus years ago.
Uh-huh.
They still give me referrals. They're at least probably one a year from each of them,
Wow, very cool.
which in my business, that's a big deal. You know,
Yeah, it
to
is.
get one website a year from a specific person that
Yeah.
is referring.
Yeah.
This week, I picked up 2 websites from Joe Yasso. Remember Joe Yasso?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Again, met him years and years
Yeah.
ago networking. I haven't seen him in probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And he just sent me two websites this week.
Oh,
Wow.
very cool.
So yeah, networking is definitely long-term.
But see, and that's where the social media comes in,
Mhm.
you know, because you're staying in front of people. Otherwise, they forget they just don't remember your name, or, you know.
Yeah. And they
Well,
don't
you-
know how to look
yeah,
it
you
up and
remember the
find your
name.
phone number or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the name, you think, I remember Joe, but I can't remember what he does.
Yeah.
Well, he used to do Windows.
Windows, I remember
Right,
that. Yeah,
right,
he belonged to Fish's Landing Friday morning group. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to visit other groups too. So yeah. Yeah. Funny. Well,
Good
good.
stuff. Yeah, excellent.
Well, good. Well, thanks
Thank you for the
everybody.
presentation, Dotty. It was
Hey.
really interesting, and I think like what you said, like referral is key in every business. Also, the ability to already have someone that says like, yeah, I worked with Dotty. She's amazing. Like the timeline is good. Like it directly creates this trust, and
Mhm.
it's way better. So, and thank you for like the ideas. That took like also like Alan a few notes here. So yeah, thank you.
You are welcome.
Well, thank you. I bet you can't tell where Lou's from. I never would have guessed.
I'm not good at accents. I know he's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, well,
Canadian.
it's definitely not an American accent. So I'm born and raised in Belgium. If you guys know where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's nowhere near Ukraine.
No, it's not. But I'm still happy
But it's
to
in
be in the
Europe.
US and not in Europe for the moment. So
Yeah, oh, I bet you are. I would not want to be in Europe right now. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's another subject.
I did want to bring up, if anybody's
okay.
interested,
Mhm.
my Ask Dotty membership is $39 a month. And what I cover on there are practical things business owners can do online themselves. So nothing super technical. There's 3 or 4 courses on there, and then I have a monthly masterclass. And as an example, this month's masterclass is a demonstration on using Canva. So, it's like, how did I create the little thing that's behind me? How do I create the ones that I put on videos, the thumbnails, the website graphics that I create in Canva, all of that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that's in the Ask Dotty membership.
And it's on video, so you can access it. I mean, as a member, I could tell.
Yeah.
You can access it anytime. Like when she does the workshops, I can't make it because it's a bad time for me.
Right.
But I get the replay, and I get to go back and yeah, I mean, honestly, I've learned so much from Dotty over the years, and continue to learn from AskDotty.com. So I highly recommend it. But I will be sending a replay of this out, and I'll send Dotty's information as well. So you can follow. If you have questions, you can reach out to her. And if you have questions that you're afraid to ask, because we were all going to make fun of you.
I don't think there's anybody here that seems too shy.
I know. I don't think there is.
Will TikTok my business?
Oh yeah. Do you do TikTok? I'm just curious.
I do not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm actually doing a training on TikTok tomorrow.
Are you
so
really?
it's really big for certain businesses, and people are getting thousands and thousands of dollars from it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for the right business, it's perfect fit. For
Yeah.
mine, not so much.
Yeah.
I'd like to check out that TikTok training. I've been working on building up one, but I would love to learn more techniques and stuff.
I know a mortgage lender in California that does exceptionally well on TikTok, and she gets a few leads a month on that, and good, fairly decently from what I can
Yeah.
tell.
I want
Really?
to put educational videos, like things that I talk about to every single client
Mhm.
on there in a fun, short videos.
Yeah.
Catch attention and like, because there's a lot of information, and I find that people forget a lot of what you say and ask over and over again. But like while I'm working on pre-approval, hey, go check out my TikTok while learn some more stuff or relearn what we talked about, and I think it'll stick in their mind better.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Excellent.
My granddaughter's kind of famous. One of her videos was famous. She got like millions.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was the
millions
topic
views.
of that video, Becky?
Oh, it was a stupid thing. She and her dad were out hunting, and it was just I don't know what she even called it, but it was a silly thing. So, but yeah, it just kept growing. So you never know. But well, we need to end the meeting. So thank you everybody for being here. As I mentioned, I'll send out the replay with Dotty's information, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Becky.
Dotty.
Nice to see
Thanks,
you all.
Dottie.
Good to see
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.